Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Nathan Fox. That's Ben Olson. We're the founders of LSATdemon.com and our weekly podcast, Thinking LSAT. We've got an email here from Cassie. The subject is mastering one section at a time.
Hi, Ben and Nathan! Exclamation point. I started studying for the LSAT in January of 2025 with a diagnostic of 150.
Good. Great diagnostic.
Yep. Since I started studying, my LSAT, my logical reasoning score has increased consistently with a pretty narrow range of scores, -3 to -5. In reading comprehension, my range is much larger, -3 to -10. And my growth seems to be a lot less consistent. I remember a podcast episode where Nathan said that he struggled on games and spent 3 months practicing exclusively games until he maxed out his score. I work a full-time job and generally only study 1 to 2 hours daily, which hasn't been feeling sufficient to dedicate the time necessary to increasing my reading comprehension skills. Due to this, I've recently been inclined to start focusing only on logical reasoning until I maximize my accuracy.
No.
And then focus on only reading comp.
No.
She continues, I know this approach isn't common, so I want to ask if this is not recommended for any reason. I really enjoy the LSAT Demon's philosophy and appreciate everything you both do. Thanks so much.
Not a good idea. 1 to 2 hours a day is plenty. 1 to 2 hours a day is actually what we recommend. But we recommend that you mix it up. You should be doing roughly 2/3 LR, one-third RC, because that's the balance of the test. There's 2 scored sections of LR, 1 scored section of RC. So you should be spending roughly 2/3 of your time on LR, 1/3 of your time on RC as a default presumption. But if RC is your worst section, then you should actually be emphasizing RC more, not less. It's not that uncommon that people think this is a good strategy. But to me, it's really just kind of like rationalizing, burying your head in the sand, right? I mean, what Cassie's really doing is saying, I'm afraid of reading comp. I don't want to work on reading comp. I'd rather work on the sections that I'm good at. And you really need to focus on your weakest area more. So I would say a 50-50 balance, Cassie, going forward. 50-50 balance between LR and RC until your scores like equalize. And then at that point, you probably go back to 2/3 LR, 1/3 RC.
Yeah. I mean, people might hear what you're saying and say, oh, okay, well, I'm not afraid of reading comp. I'll just focus solely on reading comp. But no, it's if you completely abandon LR, then you won't get a break from reading comp. You should take a break but still leverage that time by doing logical reasoning. And you can continue to improve on both because they are related.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's so much that carries over, right? On LR, we talk about 2 broad question types. Is the record open or is the record closed? Open record questions like strengthen or weaken allow you to introduce new information. And that's a thing that's almost unique to the logical reasoning. It doesn't really pop up very often on reading comp. On reading comp, it's mostly closed record questions. So they're asking you, what was the conclusion? What must be true based on what they said? What type of thing did they do? Just basically they're asking you descriptive questions. What's in the record? LR has tons of those questions. Reading comp has almost exclusively those questions. And there's just no reason why you can't improve on reading comp. I would go dig up my blog post that I wrote called 1 Hour LSAT, because it's a study schedule for people who only have 1 hour a day. And you, Cassie, say you've got 1 to 2 hours a day. There's no reason why you can't do a mix of LR and RC throughout the week.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anything, I would turn the dial more toward RC a little bit if that's your weakest section. But not too much, because you're still missing 3 to 5. I presume that's per section on LR. But there's 2 sections of LR.
Yeah.
So you could be missing 6 to 10 on LR and 3 to 10 on RC. It could be that you're actually worse. You don't even realize it, but you're worse at LR than you are at RC. Anyway, stop thinking so much about the variance. The variance doesn't really matter. the thing that really matters is just accuracy on questions that you've attempted. There will be variance in those scores. But yeah, if anything, you should be emphasizing the section that you're worse at.
Also, I think we should just state that reading comp is naturally going to be more variant than logical reasoning.
How come?
Because you have only 4 passages. And so instead of LR, which is much more granular, if one logical reasoning question messes with you, okay, fine. But there's another 25 that are going to equal things out. In reading comprehension, if one passage messes with you, well, okay, that's going to potentially affect a quarter of your score. So
yeah. Another way of looking at that is that on LR, many students are going to like, oh, well, I usually get to about 21 questions on LR.
Sure.
You know, sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 21, 22.
Exactly.
And because they're discrete, that doesn't hurt you that you sometimes make it a little farther or sometimes don't make it quite as far. But on RC, it can be the entire 4th passage or not, or the entire 3rd passage or not. And yeah, so we would expect that that range is going to be higher. That's just not the thing you should be looking at, Cassie. You should be looking at your mistakes. Which questions aren't you solving? Why aren't you solving those questions?
Great. Email daily at lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.